Where do we even begin with this game? It was weird, man, because even though it seems like a lifetime ago, the first possession, Chris Paul gets the ball, runs up the floor. I think it was a pick and roll to Torrey Craig, or no, Mikal Bridges, excuse me, who like threw it down. And we're like, oh, Chris Paul's back. He's looking good. He had a few possessions after that where he looked pretty good. And then it kind of just went all downhill from there. DeAndre Ayton looked extremely slow. There's one Ayton play in particular I'd like to point out later. Devin Booker was cold again, pretty much. And really, how I knew the game was getting out of hand, kind of like in the Mavericks game, was I forgot what the score was, but all of a sudden the Celtics go on a 10-0 run. And then that led to a 17-2 run. They did all that within like a few minutes. And then I think at the end of the first quarter, it was a double-digit lead. The Suns were shooting 36%. Yada, yada, yada. I could preach to you all day. I could break it all down. Then all of a sudden at halftime, 69-42, and it was pretty much over. Then that lead escalated even further up. And in short, guys, two back-to-back embarrassing losses. And look, I even jokingly tweeted this out that there's going to be some Suns fans that will say, oh, it's December and these losses don't matter. Maybe they wouldn't matter if they were far apart. This is two back-to-back embarrassing losses. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be a contender. And yeah, we probably still are. And yeah, we got our ass kicked by, I'm calling them now, the best team in the NBA. And we got our ass kicked to the Mavericks, who have the NBA's golden boy, Luka. I can't explain it. I literally am at a loss for words. Look, Suns Twitter's going nuts right now. And look, I am guilty of contributing to that. I was doing a lot of tweeting tonight. I was letting my frustration and anger out on Twitter. Look, we can blame James Jones. We can blame Monty Williams. We can blame DeAndre Ayton. We can blame Devin Booker. Literally, from top to bottom, everyone deserves blame, including myself, including Suns fans, which we're going to talk about this later. The Suns fans, the quote Suns fans that sold their tickets to Celtics fans deserve blame tonight. Celtics fans took over our home game tonight. I can break down all the numbers for you. I can talk about what I saw, but what I saw was just a legit embarrassing performance tonight. Maybe a couple players showed up. Josh Okogie, I guess, for the second game in a row. I'm at a loss for words. So Super Mario Hoops, I don't know, man. Give me your opening thoughts, reaction. If you want to tell me what the Celtics did, because I was just watching the Suns, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even see what the Celtics did, except for Tatum and Brown kicked our ass.
Yeah. I guess I could start with the Celtics at first. I mean, first of all, like, this team just as a whole is definitely playing. Yeah, they're definitely playing like the best team in basketball. And I think they deserve credit for that. You know, like, they're just so well-rounded, and all their guys, you know, they basically switch everything. They don't bite. Like, it's pretty rare that they ever do bite defensively. But basically everyone's capable of switching on everything, and everyone gives like maximum effort on that team. Like, I guess, like, to start off, not the ideal person I would probably talk about, like, when thinking of the Celtics, but like Blake Griffin, for example, like he's someone who they basically picked up. It seemed like he might have been near the end of his career or something like that. He started a few games for him this year. I know the other day he had.
I love Blake Griffin, dude. Legit love him.
It kind of got overshadowed the day Kawhi had his game winner. Yeah. But he had a season high that night too. And now tonight, like, he almost puts up a double-double. Dare I say, I mean,
outplayed DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, he outplayed DeAndre Ayton. He did, in less time too. So yeah, I mean, he was definitely killing it on the glass, and hitting threes as well. Like, I mean, he hit 3 all in the third quarter.
Yep. Yeah, I think you sent me a message saying Blake Griffin drained a 3. So you said something like that, like it's over. I was like, yep.
Yeah. But he's just an energy guy that you definitely need. I mean, their bench as a whole, I think this is probably the biggest difference that I knew, like, coming into the game, that I probably trusted them over you guys. And I mean, it's just because, like, Derek White's having a career year. He's shooting 40% from 3. Sam Hauser's kind of came out of nowhere. We know Peyton
Dude.
Pritchard, what he can
Bruh.
bring. Luke Cornett tonight, like he went 6 of 6. And Malcolm Brogdon, who, I mean, I think he's the clear favorite right now for sixth man of the year.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not even close either. I mean, he's leading the league in 3-point percentage, averaging like almost 14, 15 a game off the bench. He's an elite playmaker, an elite defender. And,
He's a
the
smart
team
player too, man.
yeah,
High
the
basketball
team's,
IQ.
I still personally believe, I mean, this could be a different discussion. I still believe he's probably the third best player on this team. I know a lot of people value Smart's defense and his energy, and also Rob Williams when healthy, but I don't know. I feel like Malcolm Brogdon is really significant. And like I said, I think he's the sixth man of the year leader so far this season. And then you got a guy like Grant Williams who, he played an efficient game. He couldn't really miss from three. We already know like what Marcus Smart can bring. Really, Grant Williams, I feel like would normally be kind of like in a 6-man role too on this roster. So, I mean, you also got to factor that in. He'd kind of be alongside Brogdon on the bench. Jaylen Brown, I feel like he doesn't get enough credit because of his,
Facts.
He's kind of taken a step up this year too, but it's kind of been a little overshadowed because
Jason Tatum's
of
playing
Jason
amazing.
Tatum,
Yep.
who, and I mean, that's also rightfully so. I know I'm talking about like this guy deserves this guy deserves that, but I would also probably say that Jason Tatum's probably the front runner for MVP as well. Like right now, I mean, best player on the best team, and he's playing like really good on both ends of the floor. So I think like, wait, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. When you're
No, you're good.
21-5 now, with all the turmoil that the Celtics had coming into the season, like not winning a championship, the Ime Udoka stuff, yada yada yada, you can be overlooked like that, and you can have players that just step up off the bench. You can have your Blake Griffins and Sam Hausers and Malcolm Brogdons, and I think it's a compliment to Jaylen Brown that he's being overlooked because he's playing just as good as Jason Tatum pretty much. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's all I wanted to say. When you're 21-5, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that also gives credit to Joe Mazzulla too, who, to come into that role is kind of like an interim. Like you could argue he's the coach of the year right now.
Facts. You already won coach of the month.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that. But I don't know. I think overall, like what they look like, they are the team to beat before the season. I think Vegas had them as like the odds-on favorites to win the championship this year. So, I mean, right now it's looking very, true, very possible. But I guess like with the Suns, I mean, they just like tonight, it seemed like no position was like executed well for their team. Like when you think of like every position, you think of like a point guard, you think of someone who's like a primary facilitator, playmaker for others. Like nobody was getting everyone involved in this team. I think they had like a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio tonight or something like that.
Ugh.
Like they had like 18 assists, 18 turnovers or something like that's terrible.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. 19 assists, 18 turnovers.
19,
You're right.
yeah.
Oh my God.
In terms of like you think of a shooting guard, that's someone who can, shoot effectively from three. Really nobody did that except maybe Okogie and Shamit, and I think most of those were kind of in garbage time anyway. So, they were 1 of 16 at halftime. Like they couldn't make anything. And you didn't get that efficient shooting from really anyone on the squad. When you normally think of a small forward, I feel like you normally think of maybe like also like kind of a 3-and-D wing that can more so like kind of who's going to guard maybe the best perimeter player on the other team. Well, clearly that didn't happen because Tatum went off and Brown went off and Grant Williams went off, right? Like all these forwards on their team were going off. Nobody was on Brogdon, Luke Cornett, 6 for 6. Like all these matchups were just getting exposed by the Celtics. When you think of a 4, I feel like you normally think of at least like a 2-level scorer, maybe. I mean, there's really no one that was doing that. And then when you think of a big man, we already talked about like DeAndre Ayton. I mean, Biyombo got a couple minutes at the end there. Jock Landale, he really didn't do like anything tonight.
He has regressed so much. I don't know what happened to Jock. I think I jinxed him. No, you were talking about jinxing certain teams and all that. I made all these videos about Jock Landale. I was all hyping him up, and he has just not played well, man, like at all.
Blake Griffin and Luke Cornett together. So tonight they combined for 21 points, 11 rebounds, and shot 9 of 12 from the field and 3 of 4 from 3. I mean, that's like an all-star level center contributions.
Yeah.
And nobody was able to do that like for the Suns tonight. Like I said, they just didn't have any position. And I actually pulled out like I know I didn't pull up too many stats because like what stats can really define this game other than the fact that the Suns just got destroyed.
Yep.
But I know you don't really like. I know you said before you're not really a huge fan of plus minus.
Mhm.
But I was looking through.
Changed my
Um,
mind on it. I mean,
I
maybe I
was just
can be.
I was just looking through in history. So, like with a few key players, so Chris Paul, for example, this is his second worst plus minus game in the last 10 seasons. Um, that's atrocious, right? I mean, you think about how many years. I mean, Chris Paul's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I think this is his second worst regular season plus minus game over the last 10 years. That's pretty atrocious. DeAndre Ayton, this is his second worst ever. The last time was worse was in 2019. That was when you
Ugh.
guys won like 19 games.
Yep.
Same thing with Mikal Bridges. This is his second worst ever. Last time was in 2019. And then Devin Booker, minus 40, which, first of all, that's the worst of any player
Yep.
in a game this season. And then that's also the second worst of his career. The last time he had any game worse was 2016 against the Jazz. That's when guys like you remember Ronnie Price and
Yeah, he was the
Archie
consultant
Goodwin
for the Suns for a
and,
while.
and Alan Williams and John Lure and Mirza
Hey, don't
Teletovic.
disrespect my boy Alan Williams. I love that guy, man.
No,
Big
Mirza
saw.
Teletovic was a bucket too.
Facts.
But this is like how the league, this is what was in the league at this time. Jeff Withey was playing on the Jazz.
I
Kobe
forgot
hadn't
about
even
that guy.
retired yet. Kobe had not dropped 60 in his final game yet at the time of this. So I mean it was just pathetic, I think. And again, like plus minus isn't like a end all be all stat. Like people aren't going to look at this and be like, "Oh, Devin Booker's the worst player in the NBA now because he has the worst plus minus in a single
Yeah.
game." Like that's not how that works. But it just shows that the effort by the Suns starters was pretty abysmal tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, how many open threes did they get? Like you sent me the one where
Yep.
Grant Williams got it like when they went up 19, and I was sitting here like right in my chair and I'm watching and I just said timeout
Yep.
like before he even shot the ball because I knew it was going to be a timeout because it was just lazy.
Yep.
Only if maybe he like missed, maybe he wouldn't have called it. But I at that point I kind of knew he was going to make it. So, not to be like LeBron and I predicted everything, but you know what I mean. So, but yeah,
Real quick, let me pull up that play because this is just a good example of just some of the problems the Suns had tonight. This was kind of, I mean, let's be real. You could argue the game was already over before this happened, but this is when I think I really knew that it was over. Let me mute this so I don't get copyrighted.
yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, right here. So look, I mean, we're gonna legit watch this like 100 times. So
Yeah,
I can actually slow it down too.
timeout.
Sort of. Let me just slow it down.
Timeout. That's right when I said it.
So let's look now. Look, I only up. It's like a 7-second clip. So you see, Paul is trying to box out Blake Griffin, and then Aiton's over here, and Booker and all them, and then look like Grant Williams catches the ball. That the Suns are just standing there, and sure, Chris Paul's there, but like, who was guarding Grant Williams right there, and what? How did that breakdown happen? And then look, CP3 just kind of waddles over there, puts a hand up, and I don't know, man. I mean, and the, I'm legit speechless. Like that was when I knew it was over.
I feel like in this lineup, like it probably would be like either Chris Paul or I mean, I'm not saying like this is what they're matched up as, but either Chris Paul or Booker should probably just take Grant Williams like before the possession even started. I mean, he's more of a spot up shooter. He's not going to put the ball on the ground that much.
Yeah.
I'm looking like you already got Brown out there. Like Mikel's probably going to guard him. Who else was out there? Shamit at the time.
Yeah, let's see. There's Shamit, there's like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Bridges, like
I'd probably put Shamit on Derek White. So either probably Paul or Booker would guard Grant Williams in that instance. But of course, like I didn't see anyone guarding Blake Griffin, like you said, like right when Paul was down there. So it's like, what's Aiden doing at that point?
Real quick, you probably watched more Blake Griffin than I did tonight, but I remember a couple plays in particular, like Blake Griffin would like grab an offensive rebound, or like at least get like a tip back. When DeAndre Ayton was on him, it was just that hustle and effort. And then you said that he knocked down a couple threes. I think at one point, and this was, I think, before halftime, the Suns had called a timeout. The Celtics scored like 5 straight points after that. And then the Suns turned it over like 5 times in a row. This game was just legit a disaster, and it just kept getting worse. And this is kind of why I'm just highlighting this one play. That's why I tweeted it out. And I just said embarrassing. Like, this is just, and look, there's Suns Twitter right now is in a huge outrage, and there's people blaming DA and there's people blaming Chris Paul. I cannot repeat this enough. It is a legit team effort. We got our asses kicked tonight. There's no other way to put it. I'm trying to look at all the reference notes that I took down, and it's just, I mean, somebody summed it up perfectly. Chris Paul was subbed out around like the 4-ish minute mark of the first quarter. Celtics go on a 26-10 run. Like, I can't explain what happened tonight, man. Jason Tatum was absolutely incredible. There's that one play where he like spun around Booker and then kind of went like Allen Iverson style and flipped it up and in. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I legit just don't know. Like, should I just pull up the stats again? And can we just talk about the Celtics? Because I don't even want to talk about the Suns. Like,
Yeah,
I
I will say though too, like I don't want if I'm a Suns fan, I wouldn't want really um someone like Cameron Payne to I guess like kind of I guess assert himself into a role that maybe he was getting a little familiar with when Chris Paul was out and obviously Cam Johnson's been out, but like now Chris Paul's back, like when Cam Johnson comes back, like these opportunities, like you're probably not going to get this many opportunities uh, in the game. I mean, I know there was probably a lot more bench minutes per se, but I feel like Cameron Payne still got like decent minutes in the game before it was kind of like, all right, we're throwing in the white towel or whatever. And he still took 13 shots, which outside of Booker and Okogie, who Okogie kind of got more minutes, I feel like in the garbage time, more percentage of his minutes in the garbage time than Cameron Payne. So essentially, it's like you're almost getting the second most shots. I don't know if that's going to be a recipe for success for the Suns. Maybe once every now and then if they're really giving it to you, but they weren't giving it to him. And like just by watching Cameron Payne, like I saw one play where, Brogdon was on him and he would stunt really good. Same thing with Derek White. And
yeah.
they would keep stunning at him and forcing him into bad shots, which he didn't shoot great tonight. I mean, he shot 0 of 2 from 3. I know one of them for sure was a contested 3 that he just took over Luke Cornett, no ball movement or anything. And I'm like, I feel it just kind of felt like he was just trying to get his because of how many shots he's been accustomed to lately. Like, and I know Chris Paul's not going to take that many shots away, per se. He only took 6 tonight, but I don't want him to like think like, okay, now I'm like a primary scorer on this team. Like, you just gotta do like what's best for the team. And
Yeah.
I think tonight too, like, I mean, still scored about 100 points. It wasn't even really a good shooting game. And sometimes shots just won't fall, but still scored just under 100 points. I mean, that's not really terrible considering how you guys shot, but you know, defense really wasn't great. And then also, like I said, the playmaking sucked. I mean, it was almost a 1-to-1 ratio with assists and turnovers. Like,
Yep.
be that elite playmaker off the bench. Don't try and like act like, okay, I need to be like a combo guard or something like a Ricky Davis or I don't even know like a Nick Young or someone who's just like almost always looking to score or something like that.
I I don't know, man. Like, I wish I had, I don't know if it's Dave or Dav Ford's positivity here. I feel like people are overreacting once again. Well, with all due respect, sir, go back and watch the last 2 games or this game and the Mavericks game and tell me if we're overreacting because this is bad. I mean, we're supposed to be, one of the best teams in the West, and we're getting blown out back-to-back nights. And it's like, I don't know, man. And so I've seen it in the chat. People are saying like, we play the Pelicans next, who I always love to remind Suns fans, they almost beat us in the playoffs. They're playing really good right now. They're actually #1 in the West as we speak. They have former Phoenix Suns assistant coach as their current head coach, Willie Green. They have some personnel over there who knows the Phoenix Suns pretty well. So, and we play them like 3 times in the next like week or so. And I'm very furious. I'm upset. I'm trying to read and get to everybody's chat and everything, but I don't know, man.
As long
Just a
as you
bad
guys
night.
can like split the two, like you guys played back-to-back games in New Orleans.
Yep.
Like as long as you guys can split that, like maybe win one of the two and then win the one that you guys host on the 17th, like I mean, I think that should be pretty good. I mean, I would expect you guys to beat the Rockets, beat the Lakers, the Wizards, maybe not the Clippers. Although, like I said, that is like a back-to-back for them, so I don't even know who would be playing that game, but you
Ooh,
know what to say.
real quick, Celtics stat here. I actually didn't know this till I did like some quote homework on the Celtics. Coming into this game, the Celtics are like 5-0 on like the second night of back-to-backs or something like that. I forgot where I read that. It might have been like ESPN or something like that. And that kind of got me thinking of the Suns because we've been trash in back-to-backs pretty much. I don't know why. I just wanted to go on that little rant real quick. And by the way, the Celtics are now 17-2 since starting 4-3 on the season. So, best team in the NBA, straight up. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I still think it's funny. This one Cavs fan said something like, "How the heck did we beat the Celtics twice?" And I'm wondering the same thing with that about the Bulls. How did we beat them twice?
I said that in my video earlier because I was talking about Chris Paul and then I kind of did like a preview. So here's all the Celtics losses. They have obviously 4 points to the Heat, 32 points, a total of 32 points to your Bulls, which I think we talked about that on a stream. The Cavs twice by 10 or 11 points.
And both those went to overtime, really. So it kind of was like a neutral in a way.
And now they're 8. They've won 8 out of their last 9. So
yeah, and I don't get the Bulls. I mean, like this is just like why the Bulls make no sense. They'll destroy the freaking Celtics, then they'll lose to the Spurs, the Thunder, the Wizards, the Magic at home. Like literally awful. Don't want to talk about that mid team.
Hey, I mean, your team's probably playing better than the Suns are right now. So
yeah, we're on a 1-game winning streak. Let's throw a freaking parade.
Let me just
30 years ago, we celebrated 72-10 and winning 6 championships in 8 years with Jordan and unanimous youngest MVP in D Rose. Now we're celebrating beating the Washington Wizards.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't even know if I want to talk about any more of this game. So, any final thoughts in terms of just this? Anybody that stood out to you? Is there anything we forgot to talk about? Chat's blowing up right now, and I wish I could get to everybody. I'll try. Any final thoughts, man?
Just for me, I mean, there's not much else to say other than the Celtics just smoked them. But
facts.
I'm just really I'm really impressed like with Malcolm Brogdon's like in a 6-man role, especially. I've always been high on Malcolm Brogdon like for years. But you know, I kind of like thought when he came here, I'm like, I don't know why they just don't start him. You know, maybe bring Horford off the bench or whatever. Who I mean, he didn't even play tonight, but like, or Smart off the bench just because I thought that highly of Brogdon too. But
someone said Walter Davis era. I don't know what they're talking about.
He's but yeah, he's bought into that role pretty nicely, and I do think he will be 6th man of the year. So I'm speaking into existence from now until the end of the year. And hopefully, nothing crazy happens, but otherwise, I don't know. I think that, yeah, I don't know. Celtics are just a good team.
Much later.
Real quick, and I promise we can get out of here whenever because we've already gone long enough. But just real quick,
we always go long. But
I really want to know what the hell happened to Bridges' defense. I don't want to make excuses for the Suns team, but Bridges did have that knee problem recently. Just saying, and Booker did tweak his ankle the other night. That's no excuse for getting blown out on back-to-back nights, but just saying to answer Derek's question. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.